Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are doing an autumn TBR. So these are all 10 books that I am very excited to be reading this autumn. So I have a combination of some books I've checked out from the library, so kind of a mini library book haul, as well as some that I selected from my TBR cart. I will link my physical TBR cart video that I just did recently showing the books that I own that I haven't read yet. Alright, so let's go and hop into the first cozy mystery I'm very excited for. This is Pumpkin Spice Peril by Jenn McKinlay. This is part of the Cupcake Bakery mystery series, which is one of my favorite and one of the first cozy mystery series that I got into. Essentially, you have our main characters, Mel and Angie, who are long-term best friends, and they own a place called Fairy Tale Cupcakes, and it's a bakery, as you might have guessed from the name there. It's a cupcake bakery, and it's located in Scottsdale, Arizona. They're best friends. There's a lot of really great friendship dynamics. The cozy mysteries are always really fun. I love the baked goods element. It's just a really fun cozy mystery series, and Jenn McKinlay is one of my favorite authors. This particular one I have not read before. I've read almost all of the series, but there was a couple my library didn't own, and this was one of them. So I've been saving this, since it's Pumpkin Spice Peril, to read during the autumn season because it's just so appropriate, and I love this cover. It's so darling. So the essential premise of this is that there's this woman named Renee in town, and she is a local glass blower, and she also is a big cupcake fan, and she has a lot of health issues, unfortunately, so her husband every week has a personalized delivery of 4 of her favorite cupcakes from Mel and Angie's bakery delivered to Renee. However, one day Renee is actually discovered dead, and the last thing she's eaten were the cupcakes, which kind of puts a suspicion on Mel and Angie and the bakery, and so they work to find out what happened to this poor woman and also to kind of clear their names, I'm assuming. So I'm really excited for this. I love the theme of this. I love the cover so much. I think this cover is so darling, so I can't wait to get this off of my, check it off my physical TBR, because it's definitely been kind of burning a hole in my figurative reading pocket, if you will. So I'm excited for that. Okay, so this next cozy mystery is a completely new author and series to me. This is the first in the book, and I picked this because it kind of has like a supernatural psychic element to it, so it seems to really fit this time of year in my opinion, and that's called A Glimmer of Death. This is a newer cozy mystery release. It just came out last year. I'm covering up my library's name, so I will pop a picture on screen so you can look at the cover without the little post-it note there, but this is written by Valerie Welsey. And I love the art. I feel like it's so dark and mysterious, especially for a cozy mystery. And essentially the premise of this is that Odessa Jones is our main character, and she is like a psychic. She has like a second sight. She's really good at predicting things, apparently. But she's also a recent widow, and she's about to lose her home and her catering business that she's put a lot of time and effort into. So she's really, it's kind of a low point in her life. She does have a cat. It says Mellow Cat Juniper. And so it sounds like she's kind of in this desperate situation where she's going to lose her home, her business. She's trying to, save her home and her business, and also provide for her cat Juniper, and essentially she takes kind of a risky gig deal with this man named Charlie, who's like a real estate developer in town, and he turns up dead, and there is a long list of suspects, including one of her co-workers who's immediately suspected for the crime. So Odessa, or Dessa as she seems to be nicknamed as well, kind of goes on the case trying to figure out and clear her co-worker's name, because this guy has like a laundry list of people who would want him dead. It sounds like he was a very abusive employer. It sounds like there was a long-suffering younger wife. There was lots of blackmail, corruption, so this guy had a lot of people who'd want to see him dead. So she goes on the case trying to figure out what happened, and also just to continue saving her own business. I'm excited to see how the psychic element plays in. I'm hoping it won't be overpowering where everything's just revealed to her. That's kind of my pet peeve with supernatural, but if it's just bits here and there, I'm excited to kind of see how they play that into it. And yeah, I'm really excited. This has kind of a spooky vibe to it, so I'm excited. Alright, and our next cozy mystery is called A Hex for Danger, an Enchanted Bay mystery. This is book 2 in the series. There are only 2 books out so far, but I have read the first one, which is called A Spell for Trouble, and this is written by Esme Addison, and I recently picked up the second book in a library in a used book haul that you'll see soon on my channel, so definitely hit subscribe if you're not already so you can check that out in the future. And so the basic premise of this series, I really enjoyed the first one, is that it is a supernatural cozy mystery with water witches, members of a mermaid family, so they're descendants of mermaids, which I really like. That's kind of, you can see here, the the mermaid statue. And the main character, Alexandra, she recently reconnected with this side of her family because she was previously unaware of like the magic and like this entire side of her family. Her dad kind of cut her off from it, but the first book kind of goes about her reconnecting with it and learning about all this stuff, which is really fun. I would recommend reading that one first. But in this one, she's basically, she's continuing working at the apothecary that her family owns. She's learning more about her powers and stuff. And there's actually a mermaid festival that's going to be taking place in town because the family history, along with some of the other families in town, which are also like mermaid related, it's very like deeply entwined into the town's history as well. So they're having a mermaid festival, and this big artist is in town for the festival when that artist shows up dead. And it sounds like Alexandra's friend Celeste, who is in town for the festival and actually has like a Caribbean mermaid heritage, which I'm really excited to learn more about, has been kind of at odds with this artist, and the police kind of have her as a suspect. So Alexandra is using her family and just her sleuthing skills and her magic to try to help her friend and clear her name and find out what happened to this artist. So I'm really excited. The supernatural element was done really well in the first book. It wasn't overpowering, but it made it fun and just kind of gave it a special vibe, and I think anything that's supernatural is just perfect for autumn, so I'm really excited for this, and I can't wait to read book 2, and I hope it's just as good as book 1 because I really enjoyed it. Alright, my next one for Cozy Mysteries is actually a novella, and this is from one of my favorite Cozy Mystery series, the Bad Hair Day Mystery Series by Nancy Cohen. And this is the Haunted Hair Nights novella. I actually received this as a Christmas gift last year from my parents, but I've been saving it because it's a Halloween cozy for this Halloween. So I'm very, very excited for this. Basically, our main character, Marla, she is a hairstylist, and she's also recently involved with a man who has a teenage daughter, and the teenage daughter, like her school is doing like a haunted house like fundraiser or something along those lines. And so at the fundraiser, Marla is helping do people's hair in like crazy ways to make it more scary for the haunted house attraction that the school's putting on, when one of the teachers is actually found dead on the premises. And so Marla gets involved with the case because she's very concerned about her stepdaughter and just making sure she and the other students are safe. And I really am excited for this. I've never read any of the novellas she's written for the series, but I think it'll be like a really fun, quick read. It's about 90 pages, so I'm anticipating this will be a really quick, like, sit down, read it in kind of one sitting read, but I've really been looking forward to this, and I think the cover is just darling. Like, look at this haunted house. So yeah, very excited for that. Let's go ahead and move on to thrillers next. Okay, so this year I've really started to get into thrillers, and I'm excited to check some of these out. I feel like this is just, again, the perfect time of year for a thriller, something fast-paced, scary, suspenseful. I'm all ready for this. It's gonna be good. So the first one is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is the same author who wrote The Maidens, which I recently read for my BookTubers favorites video, which I'll link above. But anyways, The Silent Patient is his first book, and that was like one that sold like millions. There's like a movie coming out on this, so I'm really excited to read this. Essentially, the premise is that this artist, I believe her name is Alicia, so she has a seemingly perfect life, a perfect marriage. When they describe anyone in a mystery or thriller has like a perfect anything, you know it's about to go downhill. But Alicia apparently has like a perfect life. She's an artist, she's married, happily, like all these things, when one day she just seems to snap and kills her husband. And nobody can figure out why, because ever since she killed her husband, she has not spoken one word. And this book takes place like 7 years later or something. So she has been silent this entire time. She was convicted of the murder. So then she is hidden away from the tabloids and spotlight at the Grove, a secure psychiatric unit in North London. And then our main character that I think we're kind of following along in this book is named Theo, and he is like a criminal psychologist. And he is just fascinated by her case, essentially, like just really interested in it. So he ends up actually getting a job at the same like psychiatric ward that she's at, and we're hoping to kind of work with her and to see if she'll talk, after all this time, and like to find out what happened. So I'm excited. I liked The Maidens. I felt like there were some issues with it, but overall it was very fast-paced. It was really fun. It was really entertaining, so I'm hoping for the same thing with this, basically. We will see. I will update you guys, so definitely hit subscribe for some future like reading wrap-ups. I'm planning some future thriller videos, so I will update you guys on all of these, but I'm excited for this. The first book was good. The other thrillers I have are all new authors to me. So the first one is called One by One by Ruth Ware, and I am so excited for this because Meg with Books, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, who talks about mysteries and stuff, she seems to really love Ruth Ware, and it's also a very popular author in general with thrillers. I've never read anything by her, so this one seemed to really appeal to me, and it's a very like dark, desolate, wintry one, so for me that's again kind of a perfect fall, winter thriller. So essentially, and she's getting such high praise on here, like some of these people on the back are calling her like the Agatha Christie of our generation, which, I mean, is there higher praise? I mean, that's, you know, that's really high up there. So this kind of sounds like it might be sort of at least like a loose retelling of the And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which I recently did a reading vlog of and have read, and it was just incredible because it follows like a loose premise of that at least. So essentially there is this group of like co-workers. They work for this like technology firm. Yeah, trendy London-based tech startup called Snoop. And they organize this week-long trip to the French Alps, which, wow, that sounds fun. So they're basically at this like ski chalet, and you know, everything's going well. They're doing the corporate presentations, the team building exercises, all that stuff, when the weather starts to take a turn for the worse and they are like cut off from society. They're like trapped up there, and then suddenly one of them disappears and never came back from like a skiing or some sort of activity. They never come back, and they start to disappear one by one. Thus the name, and thus why it kind of, you know, has like some similarities to the And Then There Were None, that general plot line. So I'm very, very excited. I love a thriller with like, you know, people are just disappearing one by one. Like, I'm excited for this. This sounds really good. I'm also very enticed by her The Woman in Cabin 10, but that one struck me as more of like a summary read because it takes place on a cruise ship. So I thought this would be a good like fall, winter read because of the snowy ski chalet and the isolation trope, which I love. I love isolation tropes in mysteries and thrillers where people are just cut off and they are like, you know, it's one of them. And I just can't wait. This is gonna be good. Okay, next one is this is definitely a unique thriller for me. My husband actually pointed this author out to me, and he picked it from a free little library and swapped a book for it, and in hopes to see if I'd be interested in it. And he's read a few books by this author apparently, not this particular one, but he really liked them, so he recommended it to me and I'm excited. It's by John Grisham, and it's called The Innocent Man, Murder and Injustice in a Small Town. And this is actually like a legal thriller, which I've never read a legal thriller. Like, I've never really read anything that's taken place with a lot of like court rooms and like legal details, so I'm not sure how I'm going to take to that. We're gonna see. I'm giving it a shot. I'm really interested. But this actually is written about an actual American tragedy. Like, it's a real story that's being told in a fictional way. So I'm really excited. The main I hate to call him a character because it's based on a real story, but the main protagonist in this, his name is Ron Williamson, and he was going to be like the next Mickey Mantle, like the big leagues, and unfortunately he stumbled on the way to the big leagues. He fell down, like, it sounds like a bunch of different addictions, like womanizing. He stumbled on his way to this really impressive, amazing career, and then while he's, you know, down in the dumps, there's this young cocktail waitress near his home that is murdered, and the police actually turn their sights on him and believe it's him. So he is actually charged, tried, and sentenced to death, even though there's lying witnesses, tainted evidence, and a true killer is supposed to like go free, basically. So this is actually, it is like a nonfiction read, but it is supposed to read like a legal thriller. So if you've read anything by this man, let me know. I hadn't personally heard of him before. I am pretty new to the thriller genre, so that's not too surprising, but let me know. I'm really intrigued by this. We're gonna see. We're gonna see how I like it. I'm excited. And then the last thriller I have is a very, very popular thriller author on YouTube, and that is Riley Sager, and I picked her book Lock Every Door because it was kind of recommended to me that with some of the booktubers I was watching, that they were saying this is kind of like Lucy Foley's The Paris Apartment, and I really love the two books by Lucy Foley that I've read. And The Paris Apartment basically took place in this isolated apartment, and someone had just moved in, and there was all these like strange things happening and secrets and just like disappearances and like all this like weird stuff happening in an apartment building. And so this is supposed to be very like kind of a similar setup to that. And so essentially what is our main character is Jules, and so she is actually hired on to be an apartment sitter at this like luxury, and luxury is like an understatement. It's like a it's like something that only like multi-million, like very, very, very rich people live at, and they want like a lot of privacy. So there's a lot of secrecy around the building, which is called the Bartholomew. And so she moves in, and she's excited because she's, you know, she's down on her luck. She's between jobs. She's just gotten out of her bad relationship, all these things, and she's moved in, and they're offering her a lot of money just to stay there and watch the place for a few months until like the lease is up and they can like basically give it to a tenant, like a paying tenant. I'm not really sure about that. Maybe like it's a policy thing. I don't really know. Anyways, so she moves in and she meets one of the other apartment sitters who's finishing up watching someone else's apartment when that person ends up going missing. And so she starts to dig into that person's disappearance, and she starts to come across more and more secrets, and I'm just really excited. I love this isn't like an isolation trope mystery like the one by one, but it does take place kind of like all in like a kind of contained setting for the most part, like the apartment building. So I kind of like that. And Ruth Ware actually has commented on here that it's like urban paranoia. So I'm like, okay, this is good. So out of the 4 books I just showed you for the thriller section of my TBR, I've only read 1 book by Michaelides. Everything else brand new authors, and also kind of a brand new thriller subsection for me, which is the legal thrillers. I've never read like a nonfiction or like a legal thriller, so I'm really excited. These are the thrillers I'm going to be reading. I am planning, so stay tuned to do like a thriller reading vlog, I think. We'll see how badly I freak myself out. If you have any thriller recommendations, I'd love to hear them. I'm definitely really enjoying the genre. Okay, and we have 2 more books. These are both historical fiction with a like definite mystery undertone. The first one is called My Name is Ava, and this is actually a loaner from my mom who read the book and just really enjoyed it. The little synopsis on the front says, a forbidden secret, a forgotten betrayal, and the promise that cost her everything. And this is a very interesting premise. So the main character is this woman named Pat, and she is the niece of a woman named Evelyn, and she is basically at this place called the Forest Lawns Care Home in the heart of the English countryside, and you know, she's like at a retirement home essentially, and Pat ends up discovering this old biscuit tin of Evelyn's, and there's a photo in it, which wouldn't be anything crazy, right? However, the photo has a small girl on it who's has a different name and a passport in another name, and there's some questions that she has for her aunt, of course, because she's like, why do you have this passport for someone other than yourself? You know, it's very odd. And so Evelyn tells her about how her husband kind of died under mysterious circumstances and the promise she made to find the man. And so I think her niece kind of goes on this investigation to find out what happened to Evelyn's husband all these years ago. I think I'm explaining that all right. That's the general synopsis here, and I'm really excited. I love historical fiction in general, but I like mysteries that involve like kind of cold cases or like past cases, like decades old cases. I just find those just so interesting. So I'm excited to see how Pat, Evelyn's niece, goes about trying to find these answers for her aunt, and yeah, I'm excited. My mom said she really enjoyed it, so that's already a good review in my opinion, so I'm excited for that. The last one we have is called The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellows, and this again is a historical fiction mystery. From what I understand, this is a cozy mystery as well, so it's nothing too graphic. I doubt this other book is too graphic either from the general feel of what I'm getting from it. But this one is exciting. So this is loosely based on an actual family. The mystery itself I don't think is based on anything in particular, but it's loosely based on real life people in the past. Yeah, it says it's based on the extraordinary Mitford sisters, 2 of whom would later become fascist, 1 a communist and another a duchess. And this is supposed to be kind of the golden age of like English crime fiction, which I'm excited for. That's kind of one of my favorite types of historical fiction mysteries. Our main character is Louisa. She's 18 years old. This takes place in 1920, and she's trying to escape poverty, so she takes a job, and she takes this position to the older sister, Nancy, who's 16, and later becomes a famous novelist, apparently. And so what's interesting about this is that Louisa and Nancy become close friends. Nancy's really excited to have someone close to her own age. She's been kind of isolated at home, and they are, you know, becoming fast friends when someone nearby dies, and it's actually the goddaughter of Florence Nightingale, who dies under mysterious circumstances. And so Louisa and Nancy start to tackle the mystery to try to find out what happened to the goddaughter. And I'm excited for this. I've heard some good things about this mystery series, so I'm excited. I really love like the Molly Murphy mystery series from Rhys Bowen. I love the Royal Spyness mystery series from Rhys Bowen. I have some historical fiction mysteries I've really enjoyed, but I haven't found like a historical fiction cozy mystery series that has like a lot of books in it in a while. Like I've definitely read some like one-off books, but I haven't found one that's like a series. This one has at least a couple releases out already, and it's also supposed to be good for fans of Downton Abbey. I have not personally watched that show. I'm not the biggest TV watcher, so I'm not so good at my pop culture, but if you enjoy that kind of atmosphere and like age, this might be something you like as well. I'm excited. So this is my fall autumn like TBR. I haven't really done these on my channel too much, so let me know if you're interested in them, but I thought this was a kind of a fun way to show you some of the things I recently hauled from my library that I'm excited for, that are kind of that kind of have like an autumn or supernatural or, you know, spooky thriller, something of those lines that's kind of fall themed in my opinion. And then also a few books from my own collection that I've just been needing to get to, that I'm just so excited for. I'm excited for the Haunted Hair Nights, the Pumpkin Spice Cupcake Mystery. I'm excited for these thrillers. It's gonna be fun. So definitely hit subscribe. Let me know what is on your autumn TBR. What are you excited to read this like coming season? I'm just so excited for fall. I can't wait. And definitely hit subscribe before you leave if you aren't already. I do upload book videos, especially on like mysteries and thrillers, cozy mysteries, historical fiction every single week. I don't want you to miss out. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you again for watching. See you soon. Bye!